ANCYL, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, since the protest at that book launch last night, we've heard from leading members of the African National Congress, and indeed, I just spoke to the ANC Youth League's National Secretary General, Njabula Nzuza, who've distanced themselves from your call for that book to be burnt. What is your comment to them calling for you to cease and desist, as it were?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers at home. Look, the ANC Youth League in the Free State province wants to state it categorically that we respect the leadership of the ANC and we exist within the overall discipline of the African National Congress. But what we are not going to do as the Youth League, we are not going to engage the leadership of the ANC through the media. We are going to interact with the ANC leadership through our own internal mechanisms as the movement, wherein we would be able to then present our own views with regard to this issue. And ultimately, whatever decision and position of the ANC, which the ANC takes, will have to fall within its discipline. But look, the most important thing, which we think we must emphasize, is that the content of our argument remains that this particular book is nothing else but a propaganda machinery intended precisely to undermine and deal with the integrity of the leadership of the ANC 28 days before the national elections. But the reality is that the actual target is not necessarily the leadership of the ANC and the integrity, but to show a society, falsely so, into believing that they must not vote for the ANC because the ANC is an organization that is led by groups, an organization that is led by people who are corrupt. And our consistent position is that if anybody has evidence that Comrade ANCYL is corrupt or anybody else, why not go to the law enforcement agencies of this country because we're saying you have that evidence? They can't go there because their intention is not justice, but their intention is to spread malice, is to character assassinate, because they know that they are not speaking under oath. And as a result, they can always come back tomorrow and retract. So as the Youth League was very clear and steadfast in the Free State that we are not going to allow them.
Now, you're saying that the book is filled with propaganda. The Secretary General, Ace Magashule, has threatened for a while now that he'd be going to the courts to contest the information in that book. I spoke to the author this morning, and he said up until now, he has not received any legal interaction or legal papers from Ace Magashule. Do you have comment on that?
Look, we think that Comrade ANCYL as well within the right to take the legal route. And whether that fellow of Maybank has received the papers or not is really material. But we wanted to make one point clear. We are not inspired or directed by the actions of the SG of the ANC. As the ANC Youth League, we are able to have our own views and perspectives. And we are rising on this issue precisely because of the principled argument which we are advancing. And which says that why do you want to pull on the image and the character and of an individual called ANCYL? Look, the one important issue which I think must also be appreciated. As the Youth League, we know, we appreciate that we live in a constitutional democracy, which, by the way, is a product of the ANC, and we respect press freedom and media freedom. But to see that freedom can never supersede any other freedom, including the one of individual rights of everybody else. And one thing in this particular...
So if I could just come in there now, because you have said repeatedly now that the court is there to contest what is contained in that book. And at the same time, you admit that there needs to be a respect for the freedom of expression, the freedom of law. But at the same time, your branch or your region has called for books to be burnt. How do you bring all of those points together? I've got Jackson Mthembu, the chief whip of the ANC, on Twitter today condemning the actions of those who protested last night, saying that people should be arrested, they should be brought in front of a disciplinary committee. And yet you're continuing to say that your members should be free to express themselves how they want, even if it means, according to a poster doing the rounds on social media with your stamp on it, that they must burn books at a dumping site in Mangaung on Monday.
Look, our view is that I'm not sure if you've read that book. In fact, I read that book and I regretted why I read it because it was a total waste of my time. It was total awkward. But the point that we're making is that if you have read that book, you would realize the ferocity and the tenacity of the attacks which contained in that particular book without any substance. By the way, the reason the Youth League in the Free State responded is because that book speaks about the ANC in the Free State, government in the Free State. And we know that those things are lies are not true. So as the Youth League, we took a political decision that we're going to respond to that particular posture with the same amount of tenacity as it has been brought to us. The first question that we're supposed to ask is to ask that particular person called my bank, what is your intention in this particular book? This intention is not justice. If it's not justice, then what it is? We're left with one conclusion. It is an attack on the ANC. And as the Youth League of the ANC, the frontline troopers and defenders of the ANC are not going to stay idle. On the second issue that we're raising, of Comrade Jackson of them, like I said to you, the ANC Youth League will not engage the leadership of the ANC through the media. That issue, we are aware that Comrade Jackson was raised, and then we're not going to engage him through the media. But let me make one point clear. The people who went to Sentin yesterday to go and disrupt were not sent by us as the ANC Youth League in the Free State. It's members of society who organized themselves out of their own consciousness, appreciating that their leadership and the organization is under attack, and that is what they did. And we think that it's important that the people like Mayday must get the message that they must stop angering our people, because our people are not fools. They don't need me to instruct them to go and do anything. They can organize themselves and act in whatever way they want to act.
Selo, before I let you go, can you confirm whether or not you will continue to call for people to come together at that dumping site in Mangaung on Monday to come and burn books?
As we speak with you now, we have a garage full of those books. But what we're saying to you is that the ANC, remember we released a statement before, and the statement of the ANC leadership. Now the leadership of the ANC has spoken on this issue. We're meeting them tomorrow. And out of that particular engagement, if the ANC leadership takes a decision out of that particular meeting with ourselves and say we must not take that direction, we can't do that, because we must respect ultimately the views of the African National Congress. But the point that we wanted to make, I think it has been made. Society is aware of our perspective and our concept.
We'll leave it there for now. That is Selo Peterson, spokesperson of the ANC Youth League in the Free State.